Hello, welcome to those who are joining. Today's lunchtime live is with the fabulous Isabelle Obert, who is a very experienced nutritionist from Zita West Supplements, and we are going to talk about endometriosis, nutrition and supplements to support symptoms, issues, all the key ingredients that you may need on your fertility journey. So I'm going to welcome her now. This will be a very, very useful live. So stay tuned as we talk about endometriosis, nutritional and supplement support. Hello, Isabelle.
Hi, Eloise. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Oh, hang on, I'm doing something with my... Yep, okay, I can now see you. Sorry, I couldn't see you. Hi.
We're back for another lunchtime live, which is
There we
brilliant.
are.
I've just given you a sort of a warm welcome, but if you could please just tell everyone a little bit about your nutritional background, about the Zita West product range, and then we can talk about endometriosis and supporting.
Of course.
Yep.
Of course. So I'm a nutritionist. I've been working with fertility for about 20 years. And I work with Zita West Products and do support them a lot as well, and use them a lot, I have to say. Yeah, absolutely brilliant supplements, particularly to help with well, fertility obviously, but with hormonal issues such as endometriosis, which is obviously it's Endometriosis Awareness Month, but
Yes,
and so
exactly.
it should be,
Yes.
because I have to say it is pretty shocking, really, you know, the lack of diagnoses that people get.
How many people struggle with endometriosis?
Well, it's a difficult one because you don't, you know, because the diagnosis can take years, you know, to be verified, if you like. There are people who struggle with symptoms that may or may not be endometriosis, to be fair, but the symptoms such as very painful period, really debilitating periods, actually, that's probably the most, that's the worst one, really. I mean, you know, you shouldn't be in bed for a day or two a month, or you know, taking such strong painkillers only to be able to survive, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. And as you said, it can be undiagnosed for, you know, 10 years, for example, if not longer.
I know somebody currently, actually, who's just had their 7th bout, I think, in A&E. Wow. With, you know, on morphine, and yet still hasn't been diagnosed. But we think it might be endometriosis. Really? Well, why don't you find out? You know.
Gosh. Yeah. So do you see lots of clients who are looking for support nutritionally for endometriosis?
Yeah, I see a lot of people who have been diagnosed, but then they don't know what to do about it.
Absolutely.
And of course, endometriosis, it's hormonal imbalance. It's a pro-inflammatory condition. It's a very uncomfortable condition in many ways, not just the periods. It can be linked with bowel disturbance and bowel pain, and I mean all sorts of things, but also obviously fertility. I mean, it's not just about the endometriosis from a day-to-day living, but it can impact fertility, that's for sure. And that's worrying. Then people get worried, and so there are things without a shadow of a doubt that you can do to help.
So first of all, I want to ask you why precise targeted nutritional support and supplementation can help with managing day-to-day symptoms of endometriosis.
Okay, so the day-to-day symptoms, I mean, as I said, the pain probably is the biggest symptom. It's not the only one by any stretch, but it's probably you know, the debilitating one. But it's linked with inflammation is the biggest problem. And there are ways of following an anti-inflammatory style diet is very, very important. And there are certain foods that are more pro-inflammatory than others. But there are also certain nutritional deficiencies potentially linked with endometriosis. So vitamin D deficiency potentially it sort of goes hand in hand. Magnesium can be low. There are, you know, antioxidant. There is a higher risk of oxidative stress. So there's a higher requirement for antioxidants. There is definitely, I mean, there's lots of study going on, particularly with the microbiome, as we know. There's thought to be a link with not only the gut but also the vaginal microbiome and the presence of endometriosis too. So it's really looking at all these things, which from a nutritional perspective we can do quite effectively.
And so tell us about the Zita West supplements range to support endometriosis.
So we have a pretty new, actually, endometriosis support pack, which is
Yep.
brilliant, which consists of, as you know, because I go on about it all the time, the very basic, the multivitamin, which is always your starting point. So the VitaFem, which contains your B vitamins in the active form, such as folate and things, but it contains magnesium and zinc and the selenium, all sorts of things for overall hormone balance. And I think that's always an important starting point. It also contains vitamin D, as I mentioned before. There is a potential link with vitamin D deficiency. In an ideal world, it's always best to get tested, and then we can work out what dose, because some people need a higher dose than others, of course. It also contains FemC, which is our the probiotic, which is specifically to target the vaginal and the uterine microbiome, which I think is really important. But it also contains the new omega-3 product called Ultra Omega, which is really targeted particularly at people who've got inflammatory issues such as endometriosis, also PCOS, but let's concentrate on endometriosis today. So the Ultra Omega is, it's an omega-3, which is sort of EPA and DHA based, but it also contains something called phospholipids, which are essentially fatty acids that make up the bulk of the cell membranes, if you like. So they ease the absorption of the omega-3s into the body much more efficiently. Which is great because people who've got, so omega-3 is very anti-inflammatory. It has and we know that omega-3 can help with endometriosis symptoms, for instance, and it may reduce the endometriomas. And it may the endometrial plaques, if you like, but it certainly it reduces the pain. There is one other thing in the pack that I'll talk about, but the omega is really good, and essentially
new, like you said,
it's very new. Literally been out for a few weeks, but it's specifically targeted. It's suitable throughout pregnancy. Actually, it also contains something called choline.
Oh, we can't hear you. Oh, there we go. Okay, we can hear you now. Yes, all good, all good.
They should know that I'm here. No. So essentially, it's great. So choline is there's some choline in it, which is really important in pregnancy anyway. It's a B vitamin, but essentially this Ultra Omega is really great for people who might need a bit of extra help, whose bodies need a bit more help, if you like. And so it's highly absorbable.
Like you just said, having taken the products yourself, as people know, I'm a massive fan. I've taken them for many years, my whole fertility journey, which is nearly spanning a decade. And taking the new products, which is exciting in pregnancy as well, because as you said, you get so depleted of certain things that you need that you can't find in a standard supplement, right? In a day-to-day supplement. So you want to add them on.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And look, in an ideal world, of course, we wouldn't be taking supplements left, right, and centre. But we don't live in an ideal world. We live in a world, full of chemicals, where we don't know really where our food is grown and how nutrient rich it is. We live in a world of pollution, so the body has to work much harder. The liver has to work harder, and of course, the liver is really important in endometriosis in order to sort of get rid of old toxins but also old hormones, particularly estrogen. Because endometriosis is an estrogen dependent condition, and estrogen so high estrogen levels are very common, which is an issue. This is where the other supplement comes in, NAC, which is in the So N-acetylcysteine is a potent antioxidant. So it's got anti-inflammatory properties. It's great for egg quality, actually, if you're trying to conceive. But it's great for managing pain. But it's also thought to help reduce the size of endometrial plaques as well. So it may help. Yeah, it's
amazing.
There's tons of study being done, and there is a lot that you can do. And I have to say, I have had success in that I've had people saying, my God, I've had periods. I had an email the other day saying I'm now 6 months pain-free, which is amazing, and that is a nutritional slant, really. We're looking at, but I think that this is where diet alone probably isn't enough. We need the supplements to help.
Absolutely. And also, as we talked about in the past, you can't just rely on the supplements. You need to be balancing that with a good balanced lifestyle.
That. I mean, the diet and the lifestyle is your starting point always, really. You need to look at but we're not always perfect. Life isn't perfect. The way we live, we can't always be. And as I say, and sometimes you need a little bit of help along. And if you have got, a condition such as endometriosis or something, what you use nutrients in what's called a therapeutic a therapeutic dose. So you use nutrients, not necessarily long term either. And actually, often the therapeutic dose is short term, and then you can reduce the dose as a maintenance, if you like. So it's just because actually to try and get the amount of nutrients in a food, you'd have to eat a lot of that food, which is almost impossible. It's not doable.
Exactly. It's got to be something you can maintain.
Complete.
For anyone who's watching back, please feel free to look at the Zita West supplement range through our link in bio. We have a discount code, an exclusive discount code, which is TRB10 for 10% off all of the supplements. So check it out, especially the choline, which is new, and as you said, the omega-3. So yes, please do go and have a look. You just mentioned some of them, but the particular key ingredients for people suffering with endometriosis that other people may not look to take?
Well, I think omega-3 is really high up in the list, is really high up. Omega-3, vitamin D. I mean, obviously our vitamin D requirements are different in the summer and the winter. So, but if you are prone to being low, then actually you really cannot. It's only the sunshine vitamin, and of course we go outside plastered in factor 50, so we don't get the vitamin D. So magnesium is another one as well. But I would say NAC. I'm very fond of NAC. I think with endometriosis, I think it's very, very helpful.
And this all comes in the endometriosis support pack.
All comes in the pack.
Amazing.
Obviously, it's got the multivitamin, but it's also got the FemSieve. I mean, you know, some people, understandably, not everybody wants to take a plethora of things, but there are some key ones that are worth considering, even if it's in the short term, to see if we can reduce the pain and the discomfort, really.
Well, I've carried on taking FemSieve during pregnancy as well.
Yeah, great.
To keep things, you know, the best they can be.
But absolutely, and do you know what? Interesting, because although the FemSieve is actually you know, designed to support the vaginal microbiome, so from a fertility perspective, it's the implantation and all that kind of thing. Actually, the vaginal microbiome is really important for both the mother and the baby outcome, the health outcome. It's important for both of you. So it's really great to and also it can, there are a lot of women, and I don't know if you're one of them, but who actually are prone to UTIs and thrush and stuff during pregnancy, and this can help as well reduce yeah, I mean, you know so yeah, absolutely, some people are much more prone in pregnancy for whatever reason, and these can help reduce the sort of the risk, if you like, or reduce the likelihood of having these problems.
And thinking about endometriosis, are these supplements that people should perhaps consider taking whether or not they're looking to conceive?
Well, I think the dependency, it depends on really if you're suffering. I guess if you are suffering, then yes, absolutely. Because most people who are suffering will then be taking quite strong painkillers, because often a sort of paracetamol doesn't touch it. You know what I mean? So there are some very effective painkillers out there, but with anything, generally medication may have a detrimental effect. So non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, too many taken long-term can affect gut health, for instance, and it can affect the gut lining and stuff. So therefore, it would always be good to have something that basically is available from food. All the nutrients we're talking about are available through food. So they are natural. I mean, obviously they're in pill form, but they are derived from natural things. So essentially having a more holistic approach is what we're looking at, really. And I think, so the answer to your question, Eloise, is yes, if you are experiencing pain and discomfort, it is very worth thinking about it, I think.
Okay, good to know.
Even if you're not trying to conceive, if you're not trying to conceive, because we're not just looking at the fertility. On the fertility side, it does help, for sure.
Okay, so please do head to our link in bio to check out this endometriosis support pack. Someone has asked if cholesterol is high, both LDL and HDL, total 7, is that ultra omega-3 okay to supplement?
Marvelous. Actually, omega-3 can actually help reduce cholesterol, so that's a good one. And yeah, so absolutely. So yeah, omega-3 can help lower cholesterol levels. Good fats can, so from the diet as well. What you want to avoid is saturated in fats and things. And the other thing is, and I don't know whether you're an endometriosis sufferer, but I mentioned the liver a little bit earlier on about the importance of supporting liver function because of this estrogen dominance that is often goes hand in hand, and estrogen is metabolized through the liver and needs to be detoxified. But actually, same with cholesterol. By supporting liver function, you will help with cholesterol levels as well. But yes, in the answer to your questions, the ultra omega is great for that.
Amazing. And so, what is in the Ultra Omega to make it ultra, if that makes
Well,
sense? Because it's got this new
the
formula.
yeah, it's the new formula. It's essentially it's the presence of the phospholipids. Actually, the choline in it, funnily enough, it's got choline in it, and choline is very liver supportive.
Yeah.
So choline is very supportive for liver function. So that's one thing. But essentially, it is the fact that it is that it's bound with these phospholipids for ultimate absorption, if you like, and that's what makes it different. It, to say, traditional omega-3 needs to be sort of processed, you know, and so this is just an enhanced, if you like. It's an
Right.
enhanced. Generally, most people can convert quite easily, but if you've got maybe a higher requirement or more inflammation in the body, this would be for you. For it, which just makes your body sort of, it makes you your body actually.
Well, this is why I'm so, you know, I've been interested in taking this because I'm pregnant with twins. It's kind of that support is ever needed in terms of your body having a lot to
Yeah,
process and being sucked dry of certain supplements that you need to rebuild and keep a baseline.
completely. And of course, you've got two brains that you're trying to create, you know, and stuff. Well, three brains, your own as well, of course. So therefore, actually, yeah, your nutrient requirements are higher, absolutely. So having something that your body can utilize more efficiently is much more beneficial for you, definitely.
And then in terms of micronutrients, for endometriosis, well, I guess we've covered most of that, but let's focus perhaps on the NAC because that's something that you've particularly highlighted. And I know that that was quite new to the range and it's been, you know, studied and researched and backed by science for many, many different scenarios. Tell us a bit more about it.
So NAC is called N-acetylcysteine, which is actually an amino acid. So it's a sort of, that's a building block for protein.
Yeah.
And it's a sort of precursor to an antioxidant called glutathione. One of the reasons it's great for liver support is that one of the liver detoxification pathways is a glutathione glucuronidation. It's a glutathione detoxification pathway, if you like. So it's a potent antioxidant for that. But NAC, it turns out, has got a lot of anti-inflammatory properties. So this is what we like for the endometriosis. Certainly, I have had some great benefits with people with alongside magnesium with pain reduction, which is really important because obviously that's one of the things. But NAC is a potent antioxidant. So with antioxidants from a fertility perspective, and I know we're sort of not really talking about fertility, but just briefly from a fertility perspective, obviously antioxidants are very important for egg and sperm quality. And I think, as we've discussed in the past, there isn't actually a test for egg quality currently. But there is for sperm quality, obviously, and eggs and sperm, as we know, are essentially reproductive cells, casings for strands of DNA. And as an example, we know that NAC can reverse DNA damage in sperm, for instance. So it improves DNA fragmentation. So if it's going to do that in the sperm, it's got to do that in the egg as well, we assume. And also, NAC has been studied with recurrent miscarriage.
I was going to ask you about that. Yes, yes, absolutely. We've written an article on that, which was fascinating to read more about.
Amazing.
Someone's just asked. Yeah. Sorry, Isabelle, if you have the time. What is the difference between NAC and, oh gosh, this is going to test how I say this, how did you say it? Yes, effects.
So NAC is N-acetylcysteine. It's actually a precursor to glutathione.
Okay.
So it creates glutathione. It stimulates the production of glutathione in the body, if you like. As I understand it, and oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to get in the realms of getting myself into sticky waters. I'm not quite sure, but I believe that actually it is more efficient for the glutathione to take it at NAC and then your body converts it than taking glutathione as a supplement. Not 100% sure about, but I think the NAC is probably the way to go in that respect. Plus, it has others, but that's what it is. It's essentially a precursor, so it theoretically ends up as the same thing.
Brilliant. So please do, anyone, follow our link in bio. You get 10% off the entire range with TRB10 code. So use that as you wish. And then going back to endometriosis, linking it to hormonal imbalance. How can, you've touched on it, but VitaFem and FemSeve, how can they help with this imbalance?
So all our hormones work in connection with each other, and so stress hormones, sex hormones, thyroid hormones, that they essentially work synergistically. And from a nutritional perspective, we look at body balance rather than just one thing here and there. And hormone balance requires B vitamins, for instance, are really important. B6 and magnesium, particularly for sort of female hormone balance, if you like. But, iodine for the thyroid, selenium also for the thyroid, zinc, which is, magnesium, all of these nutrients, which are found in the VitaFem, by the way. So hence why I always love a multivitamin, because you then get rather than a very targeted approach, you get a general approach. You can then add, obviously, you can add nutrients in different forms, but you get a basic approach, which helps with hormone balance. Obviously, from a food perspective, that's really important to try and balance your hormones via diet, which your starting point actually is balancing your blood sugar levels. So blood sugar control is your fundamental starting point for overall hormone balance, which means eating regularly, eating foods that are unrefined, trying to include a bit of protein each time, so you don't get the sugar highs, basically, that we all know about. And so you don't want to go up and down. You want to keep your blood sugar stable, which in turn, in the background, is helping all our hormones. The other thing, of course, is liver support, as I've mentioned, because supporting liver function and drinking enough, hydrating enough, so that actually you can then wash out, if you like, the toxins and old hormones. But liver function is very important in order to get rid of these hormones, which will then also help with hormone balance. So and the VitaFem will, B vitamins are very important for hormone balance. Choline, as we've just discussed. NAC, as we just discussed. So all of these things are really helpful overall for hormone balance as well.
Brilliant, thank you. And then moving to the diet side, foods to eat, increase, and then foods to avoid. What would be your suggestion?
So for endometriosis, you want to follow. We always talk about, or often nutritionists will talk about the Mediterranean style diet, which is generally held up as one of the healthiest in the world. From an inflammation perspective, it tends to be linked with reduced inflammation. It's lower in, essentially, the sort of key points. So it's lower in saturated fats. It's lower in processed foods. So from an endometriosis perspective, so saturated fats are found in high fat dairy and red meat. So we want to keep those down. You want to increase your fiber, because fiber is so important in order to bind with the old hormones like estrogen to excrete from the body. So whole grains rather than refined grains. Some people find that maybe they don't get on so well with gluten, wheat or gluten, so maybe choosing different types of grains. Some people find they don't get on with dairy. It's not a one size fits all on the endometriosis front. Some people find, so dairy obviously does contain estrogen, so estrogenic foods such as soy as well may not be recommended in endometriosis, but some people actually get on quite fine with it. And dairy, actually, interestingly enough, can be anti-inflammatory. If you don't have any issues with it, there are potentially anti-inflammatory links. So it's one of those ones that it's a slightly difficult one. But increasing your essential fats, so oily fish, olive oil, nuts and seeds, that kind of thing, and plenty of brightly coloured fruit and veg, but particularly the cruciferous veg, which are things like broccoli, sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower. Those are the brassicas, if you like. Those are great for liver support, and they're actually great. In fact, there is a supplement called DIM, which is derived from broccoli, and so these compounds are great, and that's often recommended for women with endometriosis because it can help the correct estrogen clearance, if you like. So so food can be quite strong, have a strong effect.
Really useful. Actually, a friend of mine who has endometriosis says that she can really tell, gets a very bad flare up and is in a lot of pain when she has eaten sugar. So
Absolutely.
she directly sees a correlation between the two.
And it's such a difficult one because you think, oh, it's so innocuous, I'm sure I can have that sort of, fairy cake or whatever. But yeah, so sugar is very pro-inflammatory as well. I should have said that, shouldn't I, Louise? Thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, sugar is very pro-inflammatory, sadly. But you know what? If you like dark chocolate, maybe dark chocolate with rich
Yeah.
in magnesium. So magnesium is great for endometriosis. And of course, there's less sugar. The darker the chocolate, the less sugar there is in there, you know. So that might be something to consider. And actually, dark chocolate creates anti-inflammatory organisms in the gut. So it has an anti-inflammatory effect. So,
And I guess you can if you have a sweet tooth, you could make your own dark chocolate, couldn't you, with
yeah,
cocoa and honey and coconut
absolutely. You
and
put nuts in, you know, you can put nuts and things in to, you know, for the essential fats in the nuts. Yeah, I mean, there are ways of doing it. I think, look, it's the basics of, you can't never have these things again because life would be so miserable.
yes, yes,
Alcohol is another one, of course, because
yes,
that is sugar.
yes.
But a little bit here and there, you know, if you are able to manage your inflammation and your symptoms, then actually a small amount here and there generally you can deal with. It's the build up often.
Mm-hmm.
It's the build up that's
Mm-hmm.
the issue. The odd bit here and there, if you're able to manage it, often is no problem at all. It's if you're doing it all the time, then after a bit, the build up then starts having an effect.
Yeah, yeah, makes complete sense. Someone has just asked, is seed cycling something that could be helpful for endo and fertility? They've read it's good to balance estrogen and progesterone.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the seed cycling, because actually there's no scientific evidence for it. But actually, I spoke to somebody literally last week who, for her, seed cycling was fabulous. So there's nothing. It's different seeds in the first 2 weeks of your cycle to the second 2 weeks of your cycle.
Right.
So we sort of I think it's pumpkin seeds and flaxseed in the first one, and sesame seeds and sunflower seeds in the second one. Somebody's probably going to shoot me down in flames because I probably got it wrong. But there is no reason not to do it. Put it that way. There is no scientific evidence for it, but there is no reason not to do it at all. And you know, I've
It's
had
not going to
people
be harmful.
it's not going to be harmful in the slightest, and it may well benefit you. So it's really worth a try, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that we've covered most of the things that we were going to talk about. Is there anything else that would be helpful for people to know who might be struggling with endometriosis or might be concerned that they have it?
I think if you are in pain, if you are in discomfort, if you are, you know, maybe experiencing things that maybe your friends don't or whatever, it is always worth booking an appointment with your
Yes.
GP. It is always worth doing that. You know, it's never a waste of anybody's time, because it's not. I mean, look, period pain, I think everybody probably has experienced period pain of some degree in their life, and I think there is, but very severe intense pain or bowel pain, you know, things that don't seem quite the same as other people, I'm not sure that well, I know it's not normal. You shouldn't have to go through life
No.
like that. That's not normal. So it is really worth just getting the ball rolling, because you know, we have this thing like Endometriosis Awareness Month. There are endometriosis clinics coming up, you know, the awareness is actually coming up. So it
Yes.
is, you know, there's always
Yes.
worth, be it because you can be referred, there are things, and as I say, that you can do. And of course, you know, the diagnosis, if you like, is done through laparoscopy, which is,
Mhm.
you know, keyhole surgery. But if they find endometrial lesions and plaques, they can then laser them off. You know, that really helps, particularly from a fertility perspective, but also just from a day-to-day living your life without pain perspective. It can be really, really helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for spreading awareness on this and for all your insight when it comes to food, diet, nutrition, and of course supplementation, which is super important. I hope everyone has also found it useful. As I mentioned, please do head to our link in bio. You can get 10% off the entire Zita West supplement range with the code TRB10. And it's so nice to be able to use or talk about supplements that I have personally been taking, like yourself, for various reasons. And also, for those who are potentially struggling with endometriosis or know they have it, to have it packaged so you know what to take in one pack is really helpful, rather than doing a bit of research here, pulling in something else here, and then you can manage how much you're taking of what's been recommended in one
Of
go.
course, and they all work well together.
Mm.
That's the point as well. They're designed to work well together. And as an aside, on the new Ultra Omega, I have taken it today. No fishy aftertaste. No,
Yep.
it doesn't repeat on you. That's
Yep.
great. You know, it's really great in that respect.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Isabelle. It's always wonderful to speak to you, and thank you for
And
everyone
you
who's joined
too.
today. We'll speak soon.
Bye,
Thanks, everyone.
Louise.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.